So today I'm going to give you an example of some quick, easy food storage cooking with your freeze-dried food. Today we're looking at making some Philly cheesesteak pasta, and I'm going to give you some information on why I think it's a really good idea to stock up on things right now. Let's get into it. Alright everybody, welcome back. So what you see in front of you, minus a few things here, is basically the ingredients for what we're making today. It's Philly cheesesteak pasta. Now I'm not a fan of green onions, so I didn't include this in this recipe, but you can as well. And there's something I've been thinking that's been bothering me the last few days, and I've been reading it a lot in the news, and that's that we are basically living right now on last year's harvest. So if this year's harvest is bad, what does that mean? Next year's going to be kind of tough when it comes to your food supply. Food prices are rising steeply. The latest data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics is showing a 7.4% increase between June and July 2021 to June and July 2022. The cost of meat has swelled by 18%. Eggs are up by 15%. So it's unclear when this is going to relent. So in the meantime, it's a good idea to fill your pantry with long-lasting good food. Now, I've said in the past, freeze-dried food can be a little expensive. I'm not denying that. If you feel that it's a little too expensive for your budget, by all means, stock up on the canned stuff. We're using canned stuff in this recipe today. This is actual stuff that I've rotated out of my storage, and we're going to be using that today to cook with. So, I got the old stuff out, put some new stuff in, and we figured we'd use it up and try it out. And it's also a very good idea to practice with the long-term food that you store. I know from practicing with this very type of food here from freeze-dried wholesalers that some things take longer to hydrate. There's a special way to hydrate cheese that I use. This stuff is very quick. The pasta is basically ready to go. You just boil it. So I know these things already. I'm not doing this in the height of an emergency, disaster, stressful situation. Imagine yourself going to Walmart, finding that there's no food there, like some of us locals did last year, and then coming home all stressed out, your kids are hungry, freaking out, and you start to cook with the stuff that you've never used before. So that's why I do this, just to give you an idea of what it's like to cook with this stuff, and for my own personal practice, to be honest with you, so I can keep up and kind of practice on what I'm making with my food. Now remember folks, if you do choose to use freeze-dried wholesalers, my link in the description below will save you 15%. Just using the link. There's no codes, there's no this, there's no go to my page and click like, none of that. You just click that link. When you check out, you will see a discount of 15% on all the food that you've ordered. This stuff is 25-year shelf life. I was even a little suspicious in the beginning years ago when I first started doing videos for them, the bag storage thing and lasting 25 years. But these bags have stood the test of time for at least the last 3 years that I've been doing videos. And I have stuff that I've opened and used halfway, and it's sitting in my pantry, and I keep going, we gotta eat that, and it's still fine. As a matter of fact, I made some stuff with some raw chicken the other day, the freeze-dried raw chicken breasts. So it's perfectly fine. Anyway, let's get into making this. Let me get everything set up here. I'm going to tell you quickly what we're going to do. Basically, what you're going to need is 8 ounces of penny pasta, about 1.25 pounds of ground beef, which is right here. Okay, 2 tablespoons of butter. I got that out over on the other side here. We're going to have 8 ounces of mushrooms sliced. I'm probably going to use a little bit, half of that, because we're going to make half this recipe. All right, 8 ounces, one medium onion chopped, again, about half an onion chopped, because I'm halving the recipe. And by the way, I did use that dead fish knife, the chef's knife from my video yesterday. This thing is amazing. You can cook stuff so thin, it's like see-through. So, really pleased with it. You're going to need 10 ounces of either beef broth or French onion soup. I chose French onion soup because that's what I had in my storage, and that's what I rotated out. You can use beef broth if you get it from the dollar store. Is a good place to pick it up. They do sell all that stuff there, so check out your local dollar store. 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. Again, I have the cheap, great value Walmart stuff. Okay. And 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, which is off camera here. You can do 1/3 pound of coarsely chopped white cheese. Basically, I'm putting in cheese to taste. I'm going to put a little bit of Parmesan and a little mozzarella in there. Not too much. And you're going to salt and pepper this to taste. So let's get the stove out. Let's get cooking. Let's get the pasta boiling. It boils fairly quickly because it is kind of parboiled, half-cooked, freeze-dried. And let's see what we can make of this. All right, so I got everything out here. I have already hydrated the beef. Now remember, 4 ounces of this equals 8 ounces hydrated. So you don't want to go too nuts with the beef. This is your Parmesan, and this is your mozzarella. That's your Parmesan, and that's your mozzarella cheese. I hydrate this by putting just enough water in the bag to kind of make everything damp, and then I put it in the fridge. And I let it sit for about anywhere from 20 minutes to 40 minutes. It'll be fully hydrated. Now, being out here in the heat, yes, it's hot out here. It has kind of melted a bit, but that's okay because we're just throwing this in to melt anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So let's start off with firing up the stove over here. Let me get that out of the way. And for those of you wondering, yes, this is my Goodwill stove that I picked up for $8 and restored, cleaned up, made it work. Got everything working on it. So we're going to start that boiling. We're going to dump in the noodles once that's boiling. And they should be fairly quick. This is a very quick meal to prepare because everything's freeze-dried. The biggest thing you're going to need to do with this is hydrate your stuff and let it sit and hydrate. So it's a fairly quick meal to get ready. All right, I'll bring you back once this is going. Let's not burn that. And we will start up the cooking. Now, while I'm waiting for the water to boil, and it's almost there, that's why I brought you back sooner, we're going to turn on this burner. And I'm going to do this a little different than the recipe does. They want you to cook the beef first and leave the juices in there. Being it's dehydrated, we're not cooking anything, really. We're heating it up. So I'm going to do the vegetables first in this, and I'm going to dump in the butter right there. It's about 2 tablespoons of butter. Dump in some onions. There we go. Because I'm doing a smaller thing here, we're not going to be using as much. I'm basically eyeballing this recipe. I'm going to put in some mushrooms. And this is why I tell people it's okay to use canned stuff with your freeze-dried stuff and kind of mix everything together. It makes for a really good meal, and it gives it a little bit of a fresher taste to it. So we're going to work on that stuff and get that going. And once the pasta's ready, we'll bring you back for that. And then we will add everything in at the end and show you how easily this gets to be a really good hearty meal. All right, so I'm going to add in the this stuff here, your onion soup over there in a sec. That stuff's ready to go. So I can't find the oxygen absorber in here, but this is what freeze-dried pasta looks like. So if I drop it in there, we'll pick it out. We're just going to put a small portion in here because I don't want to go nuts. There we go. We found it. It absorbed all the water too. We're just going to put a small bit in here. Again, it doesn't have to be a rolling boil for this stuff. Again, you're hydrating it. You're not fully cooking the whole thing. So we're going to stir in the Worcestershire sauce and the French onion soup. And I'm only putting a little in. There we go. About half the can. What we're going to do here is make the sauce first because we don't have to cook the meat because it's already cooked. It's freeze-dried and already cooked. So as far as the Worcestershire sauce, we want 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire. Let's put that in here. Just adding it to the spoon. There's 1. I'm going to do about 1.5 there. Because again, smaller portion. The pasta's boiling. That's going. Now what we're going to do with this, even though the sauce is fairly thick with the onion soup, is when it's done we're going to make what's called a roux. We're going to add a little bit of flour to it to thicken it up a little bit. You won't taste the flour, it just makes it a little thicker. And we're going to let that reduce a little bit while that's cooking over there. And then we're going to add the beef in there and let it go. Alright, so this is going nicely. Pasta's almost done. Just going to add a little salt and pepper in this. And I keep most of my emergency and camp spices and stuff in these little Tic Tac containers. I just mix the salt and pepper together so I don't have to carry 2 of them. I just keep one together. Do that with the onion powder and onion flakes and all that other stuff too. We're going to put the beef in here now. And again, because the beef is cooked, if you decide to make this with raw beef, cook the beef first before you do this. We're going to put the beef in. And you can crumble it up more if you want. This stuff is fairly chunky when you get it, so you can add, you can crumble it up a little bit more. And don't forget to strain it. And I kind of like to squeeze the liquid out somewhat, because if you don't, the meat will poach and get kind of hard. You don't want that. So I think I got a good portion here. They say to use 1.5 pounds. I probably did a little under 1 pound again, because this is supposed to be a much smaller meal. Okay, so we're good there. We're going to let that cook up and warm up. And then we're going to add the flour to kind of thicken the whole thing up. And then when the pasta's done, we're going to strain it and add it in there. Now, if you leave this on long enough, you will boil the water out of the sauce and it will reduce naturally. But I like to add a little bit of flour to it, just to kind of thicken it up a little bit. Again, you don't want to go nuts with it, just enough to to thicken it up. Now some people will do this in a separate bowl with water and make it like a separate brew outside of the sauce. But I'm just throwing it in there. As you can tell already, I don't know if you can tell on camera, but it has thickened up a little bit. This is a very good insulator of heat, so I don't care if that finishes before that, because this will keep everything warm for a very long time. And also the stove simmers very, very well. So if you want to put it super, super low, that's good. That's about right there, because remember, you still want some sauce to cover your noodles once this is all done, and that sauce is amazing, by the way. So I'm going to turn this off completely. This is done. Noodles have about maybe another minute or two to go. They were just a little firm. So let's let those finish up, clean up my mess here a little bit, and we will continue on, and I'll show you how you do the final plating of this meal. All right, so I started to add some Parmesan cheese to that. We're going to add a little mozzarella, and the mozzarella, I've only used this twice, and I added a little bit too much water to it, so as you can tell, it's kind of sticking together. But it's still mozzarella cheese, and we don't care really in this case because we're mixing it in here and melting it up. So as you can tell, you can really just leave it there. Could even leave it there on a low heat and it would melt. But I'm going to stir it in a little bit. I have drained the pasta. Pasta's all ready. When this is done and fully melted here, we're going to mix this all together in that big bowl. And then I'll show you what it looks like once I get it on a plate. But as you can tell, it's starting to really look good now. So take a look at that. Starting to look good. Very, very simple meal. Didn't take a ton of prep time. Most of my prep time was hydrating the food. So it's not a difficult meal if you work all day and you come home and you want to test out a freeze-dried meal. This is something that can be done very, very easily, very simply. And you can do it with regular food too. You don't need to use freeze-dried food. That's really good. All right, let me mix them together. Give it a few more minutes to kind of melt together. We'll put it on a plate and we'll actually try it out. There's the finished dish. Even garnished it with a little parsley. Let's give it a try here and see if we like it. I can tell I'm going to like it just from tasting it out of the pot before. Came out perfect. Let me chew here. So if you want a really simple, easy meal, this is Philly cheesesteak pasta. Again, if you like the green onions, you can add them. I'm not a big fan of green onions, but I did add the mushrooms and the onions in there. Really, really good, simple, easy meal to make. And look how much I have left over. I got a bunch left over. So you could feed a whole lot of people. And you see, when people think freeze-dried food is expensive, they don't realize that it's freeze-dried down to a smaller size. So that's the deal with it. When you add a little bit of water, this ground beef here, which I barely use, I mean, I've used that much out of it, okay? That becomes a whole lot of food. You see how much I have left. I ended up having to throw out a little bit of the mozzarella because I had too much left over. So again, practice with your survival and preparedness food. You'll know how to conserve it, because see, I made the mistake there with the cheese. I added a little too much water and I made a little too much, and I had to throw a little away. You don't want to do that in a survival situation, and you will be able to come out with some awesome food. So let me clean up my mess. We'll take a last look here, and I will give you final information on how to make this and what goes in it. So there you go. I got lunch and dinner out of this if I wanted to. Probably just put this away and save it for another lunch. Very hearty meal, very simple to make. And you know, one of the things that we discovered during the lockdowns and pandemics in 2020 is a lot of the younger generation, and this is no bash on you guys because there's a lot of you out there doing homesteads and all that other stuff that I could never do, but a lot of them didn't know how to cook. They just never did it in their lives. You know, they were always raised with a family where a mother cooked or a father cooked, or, you know, they weren't experienced in doing it. Now me, I'm coming from the other end of the spectrum where my mother always kind of taught me how to do things, as well as I've worked in restaurants years ago for a very long time, and I'm comfortable in front of a stove. I know, you know, I can throw stuff together and kind of go, that's good, that's about right. You may not be able to do that. So that's why I do videos like this, to help people who not only are brand new to cooking, but brand new to using freeze-dried food. And this goes for any freeze-dried food. If you're getting Thrive from me, whatever, however, Augustin Farms, whatever freeze-dried food you're using, this is how you will be able to use it and make something really good. And as you saw, it was very, very simple. And that looks amazing. You know, that looks like I spent hours cooking that instead of just a few minutes over a camp stove here in my studio in my garage. So really, really good, easy to make meal. Again, freeze-dried wholesalers, on my link down below will give you 15% off on anything you want to order. I would recommend this. I'm seeing the freeze-dried beef. I'm seeing a lot of issues with the supply chain with beef down the road, and without going into it and turning this into a 20-minute video or a 2-hour video, just start stocking up on your meats. If all you do from freeze-dried wholesalers is stock up on your meats and beefs and stuff like that, you'll be doing really, really good when things turn ugly. And if they don't, like I said, this stuff has a 25-year shelf life. Now, if you can't afford that, start getting canned meats. You could have done this with the canned beef tips, you know, from Walmart. You could have done this with chicken. You could have done this with anything. So definitely start stocking up. The link for freeze-dried wholesalers will be down below. This stuff is really good food. There's not junk in it. I mean, if you look at this and you look at the ingredients, it's like Parmesan cheese, cellulose powder to prevent caking. That's it. Or with the meat. These are the best. Ingredients, beef. That's it, you know? So there's really not a ton of stuff in here that is bad for you. You know, there's not a bunch of preservatives. Some of it is vegan friendly. So definitely check them out. See what they got to offer. And like I said, if you don't have the money for it, and that's nothing wrong with that, you know, I understand, because I started prepping without anywhere near enough money to buy this stuff. When I started prepping back in '98, I didn't have money to do that kind of stuff. Just get to the store and start stocking up on canned goods. That's my main thing. That's why I started the channel, to help other people get better prepared. With products, with food, whatever. Anyway, folks, I thank you for watching. Freeze-dried wholesaler link down below, 15% off just for using the link. No codes, no nothing. Click the link, shop. When you check out, you'll save 15%. Below that, we have our Amazon affiliate store. If you're interested in any of the gear that I use in the channel, you can probably check it out on Amazon down below. My affiliate links are down there, and the store is just packed with all of the gear that I use, so you got to really hunt through it. Below that are My Patriot Supply link. That's preparewithiridium.com, preparewithiridium.com. That link down there will get you $150 off a 3-month food supply. What I like to tell people is that's really good for the folks that have nothing. You're just getting started. And you're like, wow, I better get something. And that's a good start. And like I've shown, when I've cooked with the My Patriot Supply food, I'm not hesitant to add a can of chicken to the rice, add something else. You can mess with it all you want, or you can eat it plain. Mostly, a lot of it is carb heavy. And in a survival situation, that's what you want. You want to be full, you want to eat. So definitely check them out. And our Thrive Life freeze-dried food store, same thing goes with you folks on Thrive. If you want to try out the Thrive Life stuff, the Thrive Life food, this all can be done the exact same way with their food. Anyway, folks, I thank you for watching and spending time with me today. Stay safe and stay prepared.